Major organs which were made at that time had enormous pedal towers, and those pedal towers really could make noises, and people were using it. And if it was brought to the harpsichords, I mean, think for Dietrich Buxtehude, the same kind of surprise was there, surprised by stopping. Let people wait, hang on your lips, and then finally the answer comes.
Bach stayed with Buxtehude for 4 times as long as the authorities had allowed. When he returned to Arnstadt, they were furious. They complained that he was both willful and stubborn, that he had gone to the wine cellar during a sermon, and that he had been unnecessarily involved in a sword fight with a student after accusing him of playing the bassoon like a goat. They also censured Bach for inviting a strange maiden into the choir loft. This was almost certainly his cousin, Maria Barbara, whom he married at the little church in Dornheim on October the 17th, 1707. Their marriage had music at its heart, and 2 of their children, C.P.E. Bach and Wilhelm Friedemann, were to become great composers in their own right. Bach and Maria Barbara began their married life in Mulhausen, 20 miles north of Eisenach. Here, at the age of 22, Bach wrote his first cantatas, Aus der Tiefen and Actus Tragicus. But he complained about the lack of regular performances of church music on Sundays and found it difficult to work with the pastor, Adolf Fröner, who liked his church music simple and unadorned. After only a year, Bach left Mulhausen to become organist and chamber musician in the court orchestra of Duke Wilhelm Ernst of Weimar. The Duke was devoted to the arts, and the court exposed Bach to a far greater range of international music, particularly when, after a visit to Amsterdam in 1713, his musical son brought back a selection of scores by a composer whose style was to have a dramatic influence on the 28-year-old Bach. The music of Antonio Vivaldi.
What Vivaldi taught him was very important. He taught Bach how to begin a piece dramatically. In fact, one of the problems with the Vivaldi concerto is they begin very dramatically, but they don't really handle the music very well after that. But Bach, who had this wonderful feeling for continuity and synthesis, it's not until he knew Vivaldi that he knew how to begin a piece with a really dramatic, and above all with a very characteristic theme. And it's these extraordinary characteristic themes that we find later in Bach and the orchestra. Things like that, which, I mean, there's the one beginning with a kind of dramatic flourish. He got that from Italian music.
With Bach, the Baroque in music came to fulfillment, and his complex interweaving of differing musical themes is the finest example of counterpoint in Western music.
Bach was basically a contrapuntal composer. The contrapuntal texture is, if you like, a tapestry made up of all sorts of different colored threads. And so each individual thread has its own beauty, its own independence, it has its own reason for being. But if you weave them all together, they make a wonderful, glorious whole, this tapestry of counterpoint.
He has changed the rules. He has found new areas. He has developed a fantastic way of structure. The chords, the harmonies are very rich. That's also something very important in Bach's music, is that if you take that chorale number 1, for instance, so you have nearly one harmony every half bar. That's 7 harmonies with 12 notes. This is very rich.
At the court in Weimar, Bach composed organ fugues, chamber pieces, orchestral suites and cantatas. Music was written both for the chapel and for princely entertainment, with the same melodies and popular dance rhythms appearing in both courtly and devotional works.
I think the secular sacred division in Bach's cases can be over-exaggerated. As far as festive music